What is up, my dudes, and welcome back to the channel. Before we begin, make sure you hit that notification bell so to be notified every single time I upload, guys. I'm trying my best to be consistent with my YouTube channel. I love talking about film, I love talking about my work, but other than that, guys, let's jump right into today's video. All right, so today we're going to talk about the cinematography and the lighting for my short film Coffee. So before I started filming my short film Coffee, I had to figure out the shots and the angles that I wanted to use for this film. In order to do that, I had to create what's known as a shot list or a storyboard. So this is the original shot list. Well, this is actually like both. It's both the shot list and the storyboard for my film. And I had to pretty much hand draw like every little thing. So I'm trying to zoom in real quick. See that right there? Yep. I had to like pretty much hand draw all these shots and all the angles that I wanted, right? So basically what a storyboard slash a shot list is, right? It's what the cinematographers and the directors use in order to visualize the scenes that they want to shoot before they actually pick up the camera, okay? And I had to create my own shot list because I pretty much did the cinematography for my film, okay? And it was a week-long process of just like studying and seeing, what shots and angles do I want to use in order to communicate the message of this film. And one thing you gotta understand when it comes to cinematography is its own language. It's about communicating emotions, dialogue, and also the environment on screen to the audience in order for you to convey the message correctly, right? It's a whole science, man. And I watched so many films during this time to just figure out what I want to use as pertains to the angles to just tell the story correctly. So yeah, man, so each shot and each angle has its own meaning, okay? And you actually have to choose the right lenses, okay, to make sure you convey that meaning through the camera, okay? And so the lenses that we shot on the most for this film were 35mm and 50mm, okay? So 35mm lenses are perfect for showcasing the environment, the location where it's filmed in, okay? So let me jump to a scene real quick from my film so I can, so you can give you some reference, okay? So here we go. So you can see from that clip that it's a very wide shot, okay? And wide shots that are shot on 35mm are perfect for location when you're trying to set up a scene, okay? Or if the story's main focus is the location. However, this is a character-based film and it's not based on location. The location is secondary. We all know it takes place in an apartment. And an apartment is a very, very tight space, okay? So I shot the remainder of the film on 50mm lenses, okay? And 50mm lens is just perfect for getting up close and personal with the character to show emotions and and to just emphasize what they're talking about. 50mm is the perfect for that. So some of the films that I watched in order for me to develop the vision that I wanted to film for this film were The Social Network, Inglorious Bastards, and Gone Girl. And those are from two of my favorite directors, David Fincher and Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino's writer-director and Fincher is just director, but they have a way of just telling the story so well. Like Tarantino is a dialogue king, right? But Fincher is he just knows how to set up scenes correctly, and it's like a beautiful science. It's a beautiful language that Fincher creates through the lens. It's amazing. So I studied Social Network, I studied Gone Girl, I studied Inglorious Bastards like fully to try to understand, okay, what angles are they using, what shots are they using, to communicate what's going on screen. And when you watch these films, right, when you watch Tarantino and Fincher, they use a lot of basic static shots, right? Static means it's on a tripod and it's not moving, right? And they did some handheld stuff there, but handheld is used for showcasing tension, right? Like shaky cam, that's for showcasing tension. However, I wanted to keep my film as basic as possible. I didn't want to overcomplicate things for my audience because experimental filmmaking is great and all, dude, but I wanted to just focus solely on the characters in the story, okay? And when you watch Tarantino and Fincher's films, right, they use a lot of close-ups, extreme close-ups, medium shots, and medium close-ups, right? those are like the 4 main angles that they use in their films, right? So I'm gonna cut to a scene from Coffee real quick, and then I'm gonna label all the angles and all the shots from this scene so you get an idea of what I was going for, all right? So let's go. So as you can see from that scene, that we're trying to communicate the emotion of what Stacey is going through, okay? And you know, those shots convey that perfectly, okay? And you know, I didn't want to overcomplicate things, right? Because we tend to overcomplicate things with your cinematography and your filmmaking. It comes off as pretentious. It comes off as pretentious filmmaking. And you know, I'm not a pretentious filmmaker. I do keep the audience in mind, and I do want the audience to walk away with a good experience. I don't want to confuse them, right? And like, hell, bro, like I despise pretentious filmmaking because you can definitely feel it. You can definitely feel when the director or the writer or whatever is trying to preach to you, you know, like we're stupid, okay? Or they try to overcomplicate things to the point where it's just like, bro, it's like, am I gonna have to go do extra research to try to understand this film? No, dude, I want you to get this film from the get-go and you sit down and watch it. So I kept all my shots standard as possible. Yeah, but from that opening scene, right, and the angles that I used and the tone that I created from those angles, right, allowed me to set the pace for the rest of the story, and that was the goal, okay? That was the main goal. I wanted to showcase you guys that this girl, Stacey, is going through something, right? And you need to see this and you need to understand this, all right? And to know that moving forward in this story, we're gonna be on a journey through her emotional state. Now, the hardest scene that I had to film, like cinematography-wise and editing-wise, was the split screen scene, the conversations between Stacey and David on the phone. Oh my Lord. Let's cut to it quick so I can give you an example.
Hello?
Hi, Stacey.
Hi, David. You sound different.
Really? Well, I hope it's for the best.
No, I don't mean anything by it. It's just really good to hear your voice.
It's good to hear your voice too, Stacey.
Yeah, dude. That scene was probably the hardest thing to do because the scene, you know, in David, right, which I, you know, FYI, I acted in, right. I filmed that a month before I started doing principal photography, which is, you know, the main filming of Coffee. And even before I casted Andrea to play Stacey, I filmed this a whole month ahead of time, right? And I had to get my boy Cadis to help assist direct this, and we shot this down at the waterfront during like a windy day and like heavy pedestrian traffic, right? But it was just difficult because like I had to imagine myself talking to Stacey with the right intervals, you know, as in like, you know, gaps, so that when I went back into editing, or not even went back to editing, but when I went to go film Stacey's scene, right? Stacey could see the footage that we already filmed, not Stacey, but Andrea could see the footage that we already filmed and line up her dialogue with that footage. And then I had to go back in editing and sync all that up. And dude, that was complicated, man. And here's the thing. Think about split screens, how to film them correctly, right? What you gotta do is like, you got to like line up the subject or the actor on one side of the camera, right? And leave half of the space dead, and vice versa for the other actor. So that when you go back into post and edit, you just cut out that dead space and you just combine them together into that one scene. It was definitely a very difficult editing session. It took me, I don't know, I think it took me like 3 or 4 days to like get it correct. But now I know how to do it. Now I know how to do it. And I definitely want to do it again because it's such a very useful storytelling technique that is not often utilized. It really isn't, but that was what I had in mind. That was a vision that I had in mind when I was writing out that script, and it just all came to a head. So, yeah. Now let's hop into the lighting of my film, which is equally important because lighting is a part of cinematography for filmmaking. So we didn't have a budget at all for this film, and we basically had to work with what we had to work with. And we filmed a lot of this using natural light from the apartment, from the windows from the apartment. And oh, dude, like when I think about it now, I am extremely grateful that it was never raining at all, or there was an overcast, because the lighting was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. However, though, we did have a studio lamp. I don't know what it was called. One of my crew people, I brought it over. I don't know what it was called, but we used a studio lamp to light some of the scenes, and then I used a pink gel overlay to give it that pink hue during the sit-down scenes between David and Stacey talking. Okay, let me put a picture right there so you can see it. Okay, so this pink hue, what I designed this for, like what I wanted for this, like I wanted to create this mood that Stacey was trying to be seductive. She's trying to be seductive towards David, and this pink hue just showcased that. So that's what I wanted. Funny thing though, unfortunately, we were only able to use that pink gel for a few hours because that lamp burned really bright, really bright, and it burned the pink gel. So I had to go back and post and then artificially create that pink lighting. It worked, you know what I mean? But yeah, so the color and the lighting is really based on Stacey's mood. And I borrowed this technique from one of my favorite films of all time, A Single Man, directed by Tom Ford. That film is one of the few films I can say is a masterpiece. But when you watch that film, something that they don't even talk about. They don't even talk about it in the breakdowns of like video essays. They don't even talk about it like that deeply. But when you watch that film, the colors change. The colors change based on the main character's mood. Because in this film, this is basically like the last day of his life, and he's looking for a reason to stay, in a sense, right? But you can see that the colors and the tones and the hues change from like warm, like heavy saturated, pink, blue, like muted and like desaturated and whatnot. And it's all based on his mood because he is in a state of grief. I'm not gonna go into detail about this film, just watch it so you can know what I'm talking about. But I saw that and I was like, oh wow, this is innovative. I've never seen it before. Like, I'm pretty sure it's been done before in other films I've never seen before, because everything is a copy of a copy. But like, I borrowed that technique for Stacey's character because I really did want you guys to feel her emotional state. So I'm gonna bring it to one of the opening scenes. So you can see the opening scene right here, right? This picture. You see how it's blue? Because she's sad. She's going through a very emotional part of her life, okay? But then it switches over to a more of a muted kind of tone when she's working, because she's working, she feels nothing, okay? But then the colors get a little bit more saturated, a little bit more warmer when David starts to come back into her life. Because the character of David, how I wrote him, he represents the sun, in a sense. The sun gives you life, It represents the warmthness of the sun, because him coming back into Stacey's life is like the sun shining again on her. So whenever he's in the scene with her, the colors get very saturated. It gets very warm because she feels so warm around him. However, towards the end of the film, you see the colors start to get desaturated again because Stacey tries to make moves on him and drops the ball on him, and then that ultimately kills the vibe, kills the mood, and it kind of breaks her. It kind of brings her back down to where she was in the beginning. And you can see the colors get saturated, and the signifier that David represents the sun and this warmth, okay, is towards the end where he gives her that final hug. You can see it gets bright again. It gets really bright. And that is a signifier that, him being there, he's the light, the warmth of her life, and he's gonna be forever gone when he walks out that door. And as soon as he walks out that door, the colors get very desaturated and it turns into a blue hue, signifying her returning back to where she was in the beginning of the film. And that was, that's a lighting technique that I definitely want to continue using because it's rarely used at all. It really is. And color and tone, it's so important, man. It really does, affect the mood of the audience when they're watching it. You know what I'm saying? Like I really did want you guys to feel like you were in her world and in her mind. But anyway, this was a good little breakdown. I really enjoyed doing this one. I got one more to do. And then that's going to be the end of the marketing for coffee, the end of this campaigning videos for coffee. But I really do appreciate you guys for, watching my channel, watching my film. It's been a great pleasure. It's been a great honor. And yeah, man, I hope you guys stay with me for more content. Please check out my podcast when you get a chance. Link is below. If you want to support me, support what I do, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and feel free to buy me a coffee. But other than that, guys, you know the drill. This is your life, and time waits for no one. So you know what you do? Whatever it is that you desire in this life, you reach out and claim it and make it yours, because your time is always now. So make it your time. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of the week and a great weekend. And I will see you in the next video. God bless, be safe, and deuces.